With all the people leaving the state of California because of high taxes, crazy politics, whatever the reason, you would think that we would start to see a pullback in home prices in the state of California. You would think you would start to see some inventory build because if all of these people are leaving, who's buying the property? Good question, but a lot of people here in the state of California still want to be here, and aren't property owners. So you have those buyers buying property along with anybody moving into the state. You've got, millennial home buyers that are now entering the market along with those move up buyers. So buyers in the state of California are still buying property along with investors and what have you. So there's no lack of buyer demand here in the state of California. But if you're somebody out there looking to buy property here, you're getting frustrated with the process because your inventory has been low, lack of supply, and you're seeing home prices continuing to accelerate over and over again. It starts to get frustrating. And today I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to pull up the most recent report from the California Association of Realtors. This is their April home sales and price report. It's going to talk about what's happening in the state of California with regards to median home price. We're going to talk about which counties, have seen the biggest increase in inventories, which ones have not. We're going to talk about how fast properties are selling, how many months of inventory we have left. Because if you're a buyer in this market, these are things that are important because as you see these numbers continue to decline on certain levels, like the days on the market, how quickly a property is selling, and you're seeing acceleration in home price and inventory levels go down, this is an indicator as to what you're going to see over the next couple of months. So if you're somebody that's sitting on the sidelines thinking that, hey, I'm just going to wait it out a couple of months until home prices pull back and what have you, that's one approach. But if you look at these numbers and you analyze them, chances are you're going to see continued appreciation. You're going to see continued growth in the market. Now, this isn't my ploy to get you to buy a property. It's just someone out there trying to pass along the information to help you understand it with, somebody boots on the ground out, helping buyers, helping sellers in this market. I'm seeing this firsthand. And, it could shed a little bit of light on what you should do if you're out there looking to buy a property. We're also going to talk about the price to list ratio. Where are homes selling versus where they're priced? Because again, if you're out there making offers, this is something that's helpful when writing offers if you want to be competitive. We're going to talk about all of that in just a moment. Now, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, we're reaching a point in affordability where, as home prices continue to rise, you're starting to see less and less buyers be able to buy these properties, right? Because if home prices continue to go up and up and up, in theory, the number of buyers that can afford these properties starts to dwindle. But we haven't reached that threshold yet, right? So there's still multiple offers on most properties, and that's due to that lack of supply out there. Buyer demand is high. We're going to talk about interest rates and how that plays a part in it as well. But for now, let's pull up that report here and go over and so we can make some sense of it. All right, so California median home price breaks $800,000 in April. If you guys remember, last month we were talking about the median home price being somewhere around $750,000 in April. So now we're up to $800,000. Existing single-family homes sales totaled $458,170 in April. So that means from January 1st of this year to the end of April, there's been 458,170 homes sold in the state of California. Now, that's up 2.6% from March, but it's up 65.1% from April of last year. Now, remember, April of last year was one of those months where the pandemic, nobody knew what was going on, probably the worst month of the year with regards to real estate. And then part of May was like that as well. So, a 65% increase in the number of sales, it should be taken with a grain of salt just because you have 2 months of those 4 that really weren't performing in the year of 2020. The year to date, statewide home sales were up 26.2% in April. So what does all of this mean? As we mentioned a moment ago, April home sales increased on a monthly basis for the third consecutive month. So month over month over month, up 2.6% from 446, 410 in March, and 65% from a year ago, where there had only been 277,440 homes sold, which we talked about just a moment ago. Remember, 2 of those months were bad months. So, again, not really anything to worry about here. California continues to experience one of the hottest housing markets as homes sell at the fastest pace ever. Homes are selling on average 7 days. 7 days. A year ago, it was an average of 13 days. So we're in half of where we were a year ago. So if you're a buyer out there looking at property, you're calling your agent a couple of days after the property's been listed, wanting to see it and wondering why it's already in escrow, why they already have multiple offers. It's because that property sold on average in 7 days. Now remember, property lists, say on a Saturday or Sunday, they get offers, say Saturday, Sunday. They generally review those offers probably on Monday, which in this case would be day 3. Take some countering back and forth to finalize who you're going to go with. That could take a day or 2. So, we're talking about probably only 1 or 2, maybe 3 days of actively being on the market for sale before it goes pending, right? Because it takes a couple of days to negotiate. That's 7 days, factors in those negotiation days from the time that, it shows as a pending home sale. So if you're out there looking, again, not my ploy to get you to buy a property, but you've got to be quick. You've got to have your ducks in a row. You've got to be ready to make an offer if that's the right property. If you don't, somebody else will. The statewide median home price climbed 7.2% on a month-to-month basis to $813,980 in April. That's up from March's $758,990. Now, if you listen to my report from last month, from February to March, we were up 8%. Don't remember the number exactly. This report, we're up another 7% from March of April. So from February to April, we're up nearly 15% in the median home price. And last year, $606,410 was the median home price in April of last year. So we're up 34% from a year ago. So if you bought a house a year ago, again, this is the median home price. Doesn't mean your house actually appreciated 34%, but a lot of people have seen major appreciation in that year over year, even month over month in some cases. So just keep that in mind. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, as vaccination rates increase and the state reopens fully, which here in the state of California, June 15th is when the state is supposed to fully open. What does that mean? Your guess is as good as mine. Not really sure, but not supposed to, have to wear a mask. Restaurants should be at 100% capacity. Does that mean everybody jumps to that? Probably not. But you're going to see a lot of people out and about, which means, people spending money, people, doing things. Now, does that mean more people list their homes? Potentially, right? That goes, they're talking about that here. Higher home prices will hopefully entice prospective sellers who have held off putting their homes on the market during the pandemic to feel more comfortable listing their homes for sale, which would alleviate pressure on home prices. So the idea that sellers are starting to see these huge appreciation gains, they think, well, I want some of that. I'm going to sell my house. So you'll see some of that. You'll also see the people that say, hey, I've been waiting to sell my house because there's not been, enough inventory, enough properties that I like on the market to list my home for sale. Those properties, will start to come on the market as well. So as you start to see those inventory levels increase, more sellers are going to put their homes on the market because they're seeing properties they like, which should help increase that inventory. And we discussed that in yesterday's video, which I'll link to here, where we talk about, that appreciation. At the regional level, all major regions saw sharp gains in April, with each region growing more than 38% from last year. This is the number of sales, not appreciation. The San Francisco Bay Area had the highest year-over-year increase of 101.4%. Central Coast came in second with 81.7%, SoCal at 65.5%. So the number of sales up by over 100% in San Francisco. Nearly all counties, 49 out of 51, recorded a year-over-year sales increase in April. 6 of the counties with a growth rate of over 100% had a median price above $1 million in April of this year. Mono had the sharpest gain of 233.3%. So the number of sales increased by 233% year over year. San Francisco had a 665.7% increase in the number of sales. And there were only 2 counties that saw a decrease, which are Sutter and Del Norte were the only counties with a sales decline from last year. Now, is that because people just aren't buying there? Is that because there's a lack of inventory in those markets? And so there's just not a lot of property to buy there. And so the numbers decline because, if you can't buy anything, you can't increase the numbers, right? And therefore the numbers go down. It's really hard to translate that without knowing exactly what happened. Now, sales growth remained concentrated in the higher price markets. The $1 million segment increased in demand by more than 200% year over year, with sales of homes priced above $2 million increasing over 300% from year over year. So the number of people buying over $2 million homes increased 300%. People, crazy numbers here. So sales of properties priced below $300K, on the other hand, continued to fall precipitously, with the year-over-year growth rate dropping 34%. My guess is you're seeing those numbers drop under $300K just because there's not a lot of properties out there selling below $300,000. Therefore, you can't have an increase in sales when there's no property to sell, which we talked about a moment ago. So that's probably why you're seeing the number of sales decline under that $300K. Unsold inventory index dropped to 1.6 months in April from 1.7 months in March, and that's down from 3.4 months of housing inventory in April of last year. So 1.6 months of inventory, guys, very, very, very low inventory. That's why things are selling very quickly. There's just not a lot of supply out there. 30-year fixed mortgage rate averaged 3.06% in April. Actually, in May, just last week, Freddie Mac came out with their interest rate update, and rates are now below 3%. So, every time rates drop on average, it gives buyers more purchasing power. So as home prices increase, if rates go down, kind of in the same boat. Now, understand property taxes and some other things are factored in there, but as far as a mortgage payment goes, more buying power. So just keep that in mind. Now, if rates were to climb, then you might see buyer demand back up. If you see supply go up and rates go up, you're likely to see inventory build and the market stall a little bit. I don't see that happening anytime soon. All but one of 51 counties tracked by California Association of Realtors experienced a decline in active listings. So the number of active listings declined in all but 51 of the counties. The one county that saw no decline in the number of active listings was actually San Francisco. So San Francisco, for those of you who commented on my video saying, well, in San Francisco inventory, we've actually seen inventory increase. That the numbers support that. But at the same time, we saw the number of sales increase in San Francisco 165% year over year. So people are still buying there, even though you're seeing inventory levels, remain the same or increase a little bit. And we mentioned this a moment ago, but the median number of days it took to sell a California single-family home, 7 days in April, down from 13 days last year. Homes are selling very, very quickly. And now this is important. The price to sales ratio posted a record high in April at 103.3%. It was 100% in April of last year. What does that mean? That means if a home was priced at $500,000, 100% would be it's sold at $500,000. These are selling at 103%. So, that $500,000 home selling at $515,000. That's why when you hear people saying they're going above the asking price, paying more than the home is worth, more than it's worth, or more than other people are willing to pay, right? Because on average, homes are selling at 103.3%. Now, you can say, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to overbid on a house. That's fine, but just understand what your competition is doing if you're out there in that environment, because, that's how is going to help you be competitive in this market. Median sold price of existing family homes, California in April was $813,980, as we mentioned. That's up 7.2% from March. 570 for California townhome and condo. That's up 3.2% from March. And 34% increase year over year for single family, and 16.8% for California townhomes and condos. Now, I highlighted this one because I thought it was just absurd where the median home price was, but it's above $2 million in San Mateo County. That's up 22% year over year. So last year, this time 1.6, now it's at over 2 million. Here in Southern California, my market, Orange County, median home price 1.1 million. We were at $1,025,000 just a month ago. We're at 861, just a year ago. We're up 27.8% year over year. So I will link to this report in the description below so you can take a look at it and see, all the counties, all the information if you want to take your time and look at that. So the question is, if you're buying a house, what should you do? You've got to be competitive in this market. You got to have your ducks in a row, make sure you're working with a professional real estate agent. Again, not telling you to go buy a house, but if you're one of those people wondering, should I buy or wait a couple of months? I think these numbers show you that the market is going to continue to accelerate, right? Because there's just a lack of supply. Buyer demand is going to remain high because of interest rates. And so, until supply or rates go up, you're not going to see that change in the market, right? A balanced market, with regards to inventory is somewhere around 6 or 7 months. We're at 1.6 months on average. So, inventory could double. It would still be a seller's market. Now, that would slow demand a little bit because you would have demand spread across a lot of properties and probably would slow the appreciation that we're seeing, but you're not going to see any huge declines in house prices anytime soon, with this going on, right? Just because, homes are selling, again, on average 7 days, right? So, again, they say a seller's market is about 90 days on average for days on market. We're at 7 days, people. We're not getting anywhere near there. The days on the market could double to 14 days, and that still would be a fast market for home selling. So if you're seeing homes sit on the market longer than that, chances are they're probably overpriced a little bit. Those are maybe homes that you can negotiate a little bit on. So just keep that in your back pocket. But let me know your thoughts below. If what are your thoughts on the California housing market? What are you seeing if you're in California in your market? All right, are you seeing what I'm talking about here? Or are you seeing something completely different? I would love to hear your feedback. And if you're somewhere else in the United States, what are you seeing in your market as well? Always love the feedback, the insight. It helps me talk to others and give them guidance as well. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate all the support. I'll continue to update you as new information comes out. But for now, have a great day. We will talk soon. Bye-bye.